Hey there, Gothamites. Brian Ward here with another episode of the Arkham Sessions. With me, as always, the psychologist to the superheroes, superheroines, and supervillains, Dr. Andrea Letamendi. Hello, Andrea.
Hi there.
I am super excited about this episode.
I can see that.
I am a big Hugo Strange fan. You know that. Anytime you've got a guy like a psychiatrist who can take down maybe the one person in Gotham who needs one.
Well, that's debatable.
Oh. Well, but I'm excited and I'm eager to see what you come up with in this particular episode. But first, before we get started in that, we have to talk about
my Robin t-shirt.
It is a pretty awesome Robin t-shirt. It's very glittery. It's got like a glittery R there.
And a cape attached.
It does have a cape, which is kind of awesome. But
Focus!
We are talking about Long Beach Comic-Con, which we just did last weekend, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. I would say it was awesome. We had the opportunity to check out the psychology of Harley Quinn. That was the panel that I spoke on with Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti.
It was awesome.
It was indeed. We talked, of course, about all things Harley Quinn. And one of the most challenging questions and unexpected questions that they asked me was, can Harley Quinn be cured?
And
if you want to hear my response to that, you'll have to check out the audio of the panel, which is available on Comic Vine. Tony Guerrero is the moderator for that panel, and he posted the wonderful audio of the panel, and it's available on Comic Vine.
What a rush.
it is kind of a rush to listen. And it is awesome, too, because Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor are absolutely fantastic. Tony asks all the right questions. You get some good audience questions. And, I think it's a really good panel. It's one that I really enjoyed listening to.
Yeah, it was such a blast. It was so much fun. I wish I could do it again.
So then we move from there to, we've also got you're blowing up the internet. You've done another fantastic article, this one on episode 2 of Gotham.
That's right. So Monday was the second episode of Gotham, the Fox crime drama series based on the upbringing of Bruce Wayne and the development of all those Gotham City villains.
Look, let me make something clear. Based on episode 2 of Gotham, Bruce Wayne has already been upbrought. He's probably the most adult person in the entire city.
Well, without giving away any spoilers, I wrote about whether the writers are portraying the psychology of the characters well, or whether they made some missteps or assumptions about child psychology.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you know what? We get to talk about a little bit of child psychology in this episode of the Arkham Sessions as well. So I don't know about you, but I'm readier. Are you?
I'm readier than you are.
Oh, that's saying something. Let's talk about this episode. It is the strange secret of Bruce Wayne. What strange secret could... What strange secret? What strange secret could Bruce Wayne possibly have in this week's episode of the Arkham Sessions?
Can you just do it in the whole episode in that voice?
I'm going to do it in this voice. I'm just going, what strange secret could Bruce Wayne have? Yeah? That's fair?
Yeah, please.
All right. Just pretend that I'm doing it in that voice.
Okay.
So we're talking about the strange secret of Bruce Wayne. What strange secret could he possibly have? Well, we all know the answer to that. But for once, someone else is learning that secret. And that person is Hugo Strange. Now, let's talk about Hugo Strange a little bit. This guy has actually been around for a while. And I've always liked a good Hugo Strange story. But he's been around since, it's got to be like 1940. I'm thinking it's got to be 1940. He was created by Bill Finger, and Bob Kane. He ended up, being in the original stories, he's one of those standard Batman characters where he's got like a machine that does something weird, like it's like a lightning machine. But further on down the road, writers really figured out what to do with him. Later on, he was actually in a group of it's like a story arc called Strange Apparitions, where Hugo Strange actually learned the identity of Batman. And that one was kind of cool. It's actually sort of what this particular episode of the animated series is based on. And I am very interested in talking with you about it.
Well, this episode is full of psychology, right? You have a psychiatrist. So, of course, he's going to be crazy because that's how mental health professionals are often portrayed.
Yeah.
And then you have this contraption or machine that's supposed to read people's, subconscious wishes, backgrounds, memories, all those things. And then you have stress. Like, this episode is really about the idea of stress and pressure and trauma. So there's a ton of interesting stuff here. Some of it is accurate. Some of it, not so much.
Do I look stressed out to you?
Kind of.
In that particular shot, though, he's got a big smile on his face. He's very excited about whatever it is he's about to do. But let's talk about it a little bit. So in the beginning, we actually start out and we've got a judge. And basically what it comes down to is she is being blackmailed. There's some sort of extortion ring going on. She is paying them a large sum of money for a videotape. We don't know what's on this videotape, and it doesn't really seem to matter. They just want the money. She wants the tape, and who is there to bring it all down but Batman? While there's a little struggle going on, the videotape ends up on an I-beam on the outskirts of the bridge. Judge Vargas goes to get it and nearly falls to her own death.
It's very clear that whatever is on the tape is so incriminating that she's willing to climb out on this ledge and risk her life to get it.
Yeah, and she nearly bites it. Good thing Batman's there, and he ends up saving her. Her tape ends up falling, however, which could be good for her if there isn't a backup somewhere. I don't know. But everybody's sort of wondering what could possibly be on this tape, because Vargas is one of those people that Commissioner Gordon has known for a very long time, and he knows she's on the up and up. She's got nothing to fear. She is not one of these corrupted people in Gotham City. Or is she?
Oh, no.
Well, she had just recently taken a vacation to a spa. It seems like this sort of thing always happens at resorts and spas. I mean, you had Poison Ivy starting her own rejuvenation spa, got people in trouble. If there's anything in Gotham City that just shouldn't, we've got too many derelict carnivals and amusement parks, and we've got too many spas that are being used for, awful things.
Well, I agree with that, but it sounds like this is more of a center, like it's a treatment center or a relaxation center.
Yes,
is that right?
It's the Yucca Springs Resort. So she had just been there, and now suddenly she seems more stressed out than ever. So I don't know if it's doing a very good job. But, that's when Bruce Wayne decides,
I think I need a vacation.
So Bruce checks himself into the Yucca Springs Resort and has his first session with Dr. Hugo Strange. For starters, I'm not going to trust any psychiatrist with the last name Strange.
Well, that's unfair.
It might be unfair. I'm not going to trust any psychiatrist with the first name Hugo.
That's totally understandable.
Yes.
I will say, though, it's made very clear that Bruce Wayne is entering the center, of course, to get some information, to check it out. And it sounds like he doesn't believe that he needs a vacation.
Right.
He doesn't believe that he's stressed out and he needs some kind of intervention.
Oh, yeah, he's totally going undercover. He's going undercover as Bruce Wayne into this resort and has his first session with Hugo Strange, who hooks him up to a very large machine. And he says that what he's doing is some sort of relaxation therapy, and that it actually lowers the defenses. If there's anyone who probably doesn't want their defenses lowered, it's Bruce Wayne. But what defenses are these?
The defenses we create to hide the truth from ourselves and others. For when we do this, we create stress. Is it not so?
It's not so.
It's not so. Okay. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, of course, there's lots of different ways that we can feel stressed or experience stress. But stress is the result of our experiences and the events that we encounter. So stress isn't necessarily caused by something that we're doing to ourselves necessarily. There are times when we're, very worried, ruminating. I would say when there's something that we are, obsessing about, then yeah, you can cause yourself stress that way. But the way that he described our creation of our own stress is a little bit misleading. That just because you don't tell people secrets doesn't mean that that's going to cause you stress.
One thing that I think is interesting is at this moment, he hooks him up to this big machine and suggests that they should take a look at his past, that like all psychiatrists, they want to explore, what could possibly be stressing you out this much. And he does sort of exactly what you would expect.
We should start with your childhood, yes?
They're starting with the childhood. And, I'm not, if Bruce Wayne, this mega successful billionaire, was stressed out last week because his company was about to be taken over by Daggett Industries or something, you wouldn't necessarily have to go to your childhood in order to get that. If Bruce Wayne had just killed someone 2 weeks ago and he hadn't told anyone about it, Hugo Strange is going to be looking for a while if he's starting at the beginning. But it's kind of convenient in this case because that's kind of where Bruce's stress lies.
Right. It depends on the clinician's therapeutic orientation. So what that means is that someone with a psychoanalytic background may go ahead and start asking about upbringing, childhood experiences, how they were raised, what kind of stressors they experienced growing up, because that, of course, we've talked about this, that shapes us. That definitely impacts the way that we view the world, and it kind of shapes our beliefs and attitudes about the world. On the other hand, when you typically when someone walks into your office and you're evaluating them for stress, you would probably ask, what's been going on? So tell me about what's been troubling you, what's been hard lately, so that you can get an understanding of, in real time right now, why are you experiencing difficulties?
And of course, he's talking to Bruce Wayne, and if he's wanting to get something out of Bruce Wayne, he might be climbing up the wrong tree.
I don't have much to say about my childhood.
Not important.
Should Bruce of all people be talking about his childhood?
Oh, no.
You even talked about this in your Gotham review this week. Should Bruce Wayne be therapized for his childhood?
When he was a child? Sure. Well, it depends, because one thing that we should never do is assume that because a child experienced trauma, that means that they're going to experience, mental health illness. That there's almost this fallacy or this belief that, because, this youth had experienced this traumatic event or huge loss, that they're, traumatized forever, or that they have PTSD. And what we know from clinical research is that actually children are very resilient, and often they recover from these really tough things. It's not to say that they don't struggle with it, but we shouldn't make the assumption that, because something, a big loss or trauma happened, that they have PTSD or some kind of mental illness. On the other hand, something you want to look for are symptoms of mental health difficulties and, emotional and behavioral problems. That makes more sense to me than just kind of making assumptions.
So Bruce is being hooked up to this machine, and we can actually see his thoughts. And we've seen these images before. Whenever Bruce thinks of the death of his parents, it always goes to a very stylistic imagery. And once again, it's like that here, which goes back to Bruce isn't actually remembering these things. These are more like feelings conjuring the stuff, because clearly it didn't happen the way we see it. But, talk about that a little bit.
Well, the images that appear on the screen look like nightmares, right? Mm-hmm. That they're kind of these horrific, really scary, like it's almost like a child's nightmares, right? Really scary stuff about graveyards and headstones and, images of his parents. And it's pretty clear that, he doesn't know that these images are coming up on the monitor behind him. Mm-hmm. And he's actually, when you look at him, he's struggling to kind of focus and not have his mind go there. And the thing that is accurate about this scene is that when you ask questions and, kind of ask someone to conjure up those memories, it's really hard not to do that. That, if someone tells you, like right now, don't think about pink elephants. Do not think about pink elephants. Whatever you do, Brian, do not think about pink elephants. You're probably going to think about pink elephants. And the more that you try
I was thinking of green giraffes.
Well, my point is, the more that you try to resist thinking about that, your mind actually produces the images and thoughts of pink elephants.
So Hugo Strange is actually getting quite a bit of insight into Bruce Wayne's life, starting at his childhood with the death of his parents. All by looking at these images flash on the screen. And, Bruce has a little bit of insight of his own here.
But no one knows that you feel it was your fault, yes?
I was only a child. There was nothing I could do.
There's nothing he could do, and he realizes that.
Right.
But it almost seems like he hasn't quite bought in.
Well, it's possible that he's still holding on to the idea that he could have done something. It's actually quite normal for anyone who lost a parent or a family member in the way that he did to feel responsible or to feel like he could have done something differently. Mm-hmm. That's actually a very normal reaction. Now, that should last, probably a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a couple years. He's now an adult. So to still carry those feelings of guilt, that could be problematic if he's constantly thinking about his responsibility for it and that he actually could have done something. And if this causes him to feel, very down on himself, again, very guilty and like he's blaming himself essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be problematic. And maybe Dr. Strange is onto something.
Yeah, Hugo actually pinpoints the idea that Bruce sort of felt like there was something within him, something that was driving him, something that was building up inside and wants to know what it is. And we actually see Bruce with a physical struggle on this table as the machine is sort of drawing these images out of him. You can see Bruce actually getting really, really upset, and he is struggling, and on the screen we see bats flying, and Hugo Strange is starting to get a very clear picture of who he has on this table, especially as that image sort of morphs into a bat symbol with Batman's glove gauntlet, there as Batman says he wanted, or as Bruce says he wanted revenge. Hugo Strange now realizes he's got Batman on the table.
Right.
So at this point, Bruce kind of he doesn't realize these images have been playing out behind him. He's been completely dead to the world in that regard. And he removes himself from the table, basically saying that he doesn't really think that the relaxation therapy is quite doing the job that Hugo Strange.
Well, he's like sweating, he's out of breath.
Right.
He's certainly feeling much worse than he did when he got there. So of course he's going to react in a way that, this clearly did not work for me.
And I particularly like Hugo's response as he makes it clear after having realized that he's got Batman on the table.
The first session is off times dramatic. We will continue tomorrow, yes?
So he's sort of pushing him out of the room. Also, maybe wants a little more information the next day. But it doesn't matter because he's recorded what you have seen on the screen.
Right.
He now has his tape.
He has this evidence, pretty hard evidence that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But I will, validate what he said about the first session. I wouldn't necessarily say the first session of therapy is traumatic. I would say that it could take a few sessions for someone to really start to feel better, you normally you wouldn't feel better after the first session. It may take some time. So I kind of liked that he said, the first time is really hard. You're talking about things that you don't normally talk about. You reveal some things that, make you uncomfortable. And so you have to give it a chance.
Are there actual types of therapy? Because there are different types of therapy. Are there types where maybe that first session might be a little more traumatic than others?
I wouldn't necessarily, I don't like the word traumatic unless we're actually talking about a traumatic event.
Right, which you have described on the show as being very specific.
Yeah. So a traumatic event is basically a traumatic event is basically a life-threatening event, one that either a person's, life is at risk, or someone that's close to them, their life is at risk, or they lose their lives. So it's specific to that kind of, that kind of circumstance. When we say that first session is traumatic, no, I'm not sure that's true, but that first session could absolutely be emotionally difficult or very challenging. Or, one might say that that first session, requires a lot of work. And that could be very true for a lot of different types of therapies.
How true. How true.
How true indeed.
Thanks, Dr. Strange.
That's the Penguin, I'll have you know.
Oh.
But just out of my own curiosity, is there such thing as relaxation therapy, which is what Strange is selling here? Is this something that really exists?
In fact, yes, there are relaxation therapies. None of them are quite like what he's doing. Actually, there's no therapy like the one he's doing.
Nothing hooks you up to a machine and shows your past?
No.
Okay.
But of course, there are therapies where you uncover past events and you talk about how that made you feel and so forth. But we wouldn't call those relaxation therapies. I would probably look to certain relaxation therapies that are included in interventions for anxiety and stress management. Mm-hmm. So those would be very straightforward, very direct types of techniques that you could teach somebody to relax their bodies, to learn breathing techniques, to essentially get into a more mindful or meditative state. Those are considered relaxation therapies.
I've got bad feelings about it, Alfred.
Are you about to start going into yoga with me? Like, is that what's going on here?
In fact, a lot of the relaxation techniques include either a breathing exercise, something called progressive muscle relaxation, which is a series of tensing your muscles and relaxing your muscles. And yes, absolutely, there are different kind of physical exercises or yoga that's helpful in calming our bodies. And I want to make it very clear that, you're not being put into some trance. You're not, being asked to think about a traumatic event or an event in your childhood. These relaxation therapies are very much in the now. They're very, as I said, kind of basic techniques for someone to learn how to calm their body and align their mind with their body. So,
is this something that you've been taught? Is this something that you go through in school? And
would you like to do a little relaxation therapy right now?
Do I look stressed out to you?
I don't think so.
Let's do a short one.
This is something. This is something that you know.
Let's do one.
All right.
So, if anyone is listening and is either operating heavy machinery or in the driver's seat of a car, I would say just listen to the script and probably don't close your eyes. Don't do some of the instructions here. Don't follow some of the directions here. But if you're maybe in front of a desk, or you're sitting in a chair or a couch, or maybe you're on a subway or train or the passenger seat of a vehicle, this would be the best time to do a relaxation technique.
Okay.
How about you, Brian? Are you ready?
I guess so. Is there anything I need for this? Do I have to prep? Is there anything?
I would say sit comfortably in your chair.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Just make sure that you feel that chair beneath you. Place your feet on the floor. Sit back and feel the back of the chair against your back. You can close your eyes when you're ready.
Okay.
And make sure you're in a comfortable position. Allow your attention to focus only on your body. If you begin to notice your mind wandering, bring it back to the muscle you're working on. Now first, take a deep breath through your abdomen. Hold it for a few seconds and exhale slowly. As you breathe, notice your stomach rising and your lungs filling with air. As you exhale, imagine the tension in your body being released and flowing out of your body. And again, inhale and exhale. Feel your body already relaxing. I'm going to go through a couple of steps. As you go through each, remember to keep breathing. Start by tightening the muscles in your forehead by raising your eyebrows as high as you can. Hold for about 5 seconds. 3, 4, 5. Now abruptly release the feeling and make all that tension fall away. Now, smile widely. Joker smile. Feeling your mouth and cheeks tense. 3, 4, 5. Release. Appreciate the softness of your face. Next, tighten your eye muscles by squinting your eyelids tightly shut. Now release. Now gently pull your head back as if to look at the ceiling. 3, 4, 5. Release, feeling the tension melting away. Breathe in, breathe out, in and out. Let go of all the stress. Now tightly clench your fists and hold this position. 3, 4, 5. Release. Now flex your biceps. Feel that buildup of tension. Visualize that muscle tightening. And release, letting the muscle go limp. Breathe in and out. Now lift your shoulders as if they could touch your ears. Hold, feel that tension, and quickly release, letting your shoulders drop, feeling that heaviness. Now tighten your chest by taking a deep breath in. And exhale. Blow out all that tension. Imagine all that air rushing out of your mouth. I'm going to count backwards, and when I hit 1, you can open your eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Sorry.
You had to do that. That was a very abbreviated version of what is usually like a 10 or 15 minute relaxation technique.
Wow, they do that for 10 or 15 minutes
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
At a time?
Yeah, it's more of a, I would say it's kind of, folks tend to go into more of a meditative, again, a very, very in the now, very mindful, meditative, present type of, type of mindset.
Your relaxation therapy doesn't seem to be working too well on me.
Like I said, it takes 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Over a series of several weeks.
Yeah, and the first session can be, often traumatic.
Yeah, but really, just to be clear, this kind of practice, it's really easy to teach. You can, do it several times a day. And folks who really, struggle with anxiety and stress, if they do this several times a day, they can start to feel better.
And people say I'm crazy.
Does this kind of thing work? I mean, is it proven to, is there evidence based?
Yes, absolutely. Relaxation techniques are essential components in nearly all of the anxiety management interventions. So yes, they're very highly recommended. Again, very easy to do, and they are evidence-based.
Very cool. Well, I'm feeling relaxed already. Unlike Bruce, who is a bit troubled when he leaves the session. Dr. Hugo Strange, on the other hand, has everything that he wants, because he's actually got this videotape now that is indisputable proof that Bruce Wayne is the Caped Crusader. He is immediately a man on a mission. He is calling up Two-Face, the Penguin, Joker. He wants to sell this videotape to the highest bidder and brings them all in to bid on it. Now, Drea, let's go back to something, because Bruce has a really bad feeling about the machine, and he actually comes back as Hugo is picking up the other three rogues from the airport, and he checks it out. He actually sees that it's a machine that can record what we saw. So he knows that Hugo Strange is aware of his alter ego, and he decides to manipulate the machine a little bit and create a false memory. But first he actually watches Judge Vargas's memory videotape.
I thought this was a little snoopy of him, right? To like,
it was.
He looked at all the he looked at the file with all the names and then decided to watch her tape.
Now, something I find interesting about Hugo Strange's technique, he must have been one of those psychiatrists that you had referred to earlier who insist on going back to the childhood, because her very first memory that is traumatic for her is that of her as a little baby pyromaniac. She is responsible for the great Gotham dock fire, when she was a child, because she enjoyed playing with matches.
Well, it was accidental. You see that I think she lights a match, and she's fascinated with the flame, and it falls into into the matchbox, and suddenly that lights on fire, and then suddenly the whole place goes up in flames.
Right.
So it's not that she intended to burn the docks down, but that's the result.
And then, like many children would do, she was terrified of it, and it turns out this has kind of been plaguing her entire life. As Bruce points out later, she actually had nothing to worry about. As a child, she probably would have gotten into trouble, but it's not like she would have been thrown into prison or anything like that. All of this stress was probably really not necessary, given that it was something that happened so long ago when she was a child, and it was clearly an accident. Bruce, on the other hand, he's got someone who knows his identity. He needs to take care of it quickly. Like I said, he alters his memory. He creates this false videotape. And the tape gets Strange into trouble as he's trying to sell the tape to the three rogues. And he plays it, and suddenly we see that Hugo Strange is orchestrating the entire thing, telling his henchmen that he is going to play these three rogues against one another, take the highest bid, and sell them crap.
Right. It's not, in fact, the tape that he wanted to play, which was the reveal of who Batman was.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, this is working out just as I planned.
And he's always got a contingency plan for everything. He can create false memories as clear as day. Now, something that we had talked about in previous episodes of the Arkham Sessions, particularly POV with Renee Montoya, is the idea that memories aren't nearly as reliable as we like to think, which kind of makes sense because we've never seen an actual recreation of Thomas and Martha Wayne's murder. We've always seen it as a nightmarish image, which I'm sure is the kind of thing that Bruce, having seen it, this is what he goes to. This is what pops up in his head when he remembers that night.
And it's possible that he remembers it in a way that isn't as accurate. You know, like for instance, if he feels responsible or that he could have done something differently to save them, his mind may have created a component of that memory where he could have stepped in.
Vargas's was not quite as nightmarish. It was pretty straightforward, but we saw it from a third person perspective. She was looking down at herself, and we see the matches hit the box of matches and light the dock on fire. But Bruce's is wildly different.
Right. And I would say, and I'd probably speak to what I said earlier, that, of course, what Dr. Strange said wasn't exactly true, that keeping secrets doesn't create stress. But, I think if we kind of alter that statement, it can be true. For instance, if you feel responsible for this great tragedy and you're holding on to feelings like guilt and shame and blame, those kinds of secrets, yeah, absolutely, that can create feelings of anxiety, feelings of depression, low self-value, even suicidality, like not wanting to be here anymore because you feel so accountable for something. Yeah, that can cause you distress. But, I think the way that Dr. Strange kind of presents this is like, if you're holding any secrets, that's why you're stressed out.
Yeah.
That's a little bit off.
Yeah. So once the three villains come away with the assumption that Hugo Strange is trying to play them, they immediately go after him. They chase him down. Batman, Bruce and Alfred get away. They've been sort of held prisoner, and they have gotten away. Hugo goes to an airplane, an airport, to try to get out of town. Joker's there waiting for him. They get him onto the plane. They take off. Apparently, they're going to throw him out of the plane.
Yeah.
And Batman, luckily, is there on the plane. Doesn't let anything like that happen. He actually crashes the plane, which I find interesting. He does a bit of aerial acrobatics with his bat claw, and is swinging around all of these canyons. Meanwhile, the plane with Two-Face, the Joker, the Penguin, and Hugo Strange literally goes down and crash lands. The Joker pops out of the plane very soon after.
What a rush.
And Batman is there to arrest them all. Actually, there's a police dirigible there above them, ready. Commissioner Gordon, it's as if they knew the plane was going to come down in this location. Like I said, contingency plans for everything.
Well, he had a call into Dick.
Yeah, that's true. They did call Dick Grayson, and now we know why, or we're about to find out why, because Hugo Strange comes out of the plane raving that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And this is, if Commissioner Gordon or the police department or any of these villains ever wanted to know for a fact, this was their opportunity. Except who comes walking in? Bruce Wayne.
What?
Yeah, the two of them are seen together for the first time. And, clearly Hugo Strange is carted off, ranting and raving that he must be Batman. And, does anyone else believe him? No.
Arkham is nice this time of year.
That's true. So all of them are going over to Arkham, apparently. And Batman's identity is intact because it was, in fact, Dick Grayson disguised as Batman. Now, something that I think is cool here is a little detail. Obviously, Dick Grayson is considerably shorter than Bruce Wayne.
Right.
But Dick actually complains that walking on the leg extensions is uncomfortable. So, he pulls up the pant legs, and sure enough, he is on basically little stilts.
That's quite the elaborate disguise, because not just walking on stilts, but his prosthetic mask, like all that stuff that they're seeing him close up. Yeah, the voice.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cool ending. Obviously it's a cartoon, but you can't pull that off in real life.
Yeah. It would be very difficult. And so that ends that. I find this episode to be absolutely fascinating because you've got a story which was actually developed by our good friend David Wise. Mm-hmm. We've mentioned him on the show several times before. you know, and it is sort of an adaptation, like we said before, from stories in the past, Batman comics. But the idea that you've got a person in the mental health field that can actually use what they are doing to people unethically and to get information from them that they can then turn around and either extort money from them or sell it to the highest bidder elsewhere is fascinating to me, because it really shows that you don't need a superpower. You just have to be really in tune with psychology.
Right. That's your superpower.
Yeah.
Knowledge of psychology, kiddos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, and obviously you said it was an unethical. Of course, he's not only manipulating these folks, but I think, you know, by virtue of selling this product, this therapy as relaxation therapy or stress management therapy, you know, right there, you know, that's unethical, because this treatment, it's not proven to work. We don't necessarily know that it's helping them, and it could actually cause more anxiety and stress because of the types of, you know, just the way that he's interrogating them. And he's not necessarily providing them with any kind of helpful therapy or effective therapy. So that's problematic, of course. And then, like you said, using that information, he's breaking patient confidentiality.
Right.
By using that information and, you know, trying to sell it or trying to expose them, blackmailing them. That's obviously unethical, and his license should be taken away.
Yeah. Something I'm really sad about is we never really get an opportunity to see Hugo Strange again in Batman the Animated Series. Presumably, this was his big shot. He missed it, and now he's gone off to
Wait,
Arkham.
what do you mean he missed it?
Well, you know, he had his opportunity to make some cash and to reveal the identity of Batman. He tried to, blew it, and now unfortunately we don't get to see him again. Turns out that that's actually a behind-the-scenes decision. That apparently Hugo was going to make more appearances, but because of the movies and because of those stories, you know, the production companies basically wanted to embargo key rogue characters. As a result, Hugo never got to come back to Batman the Animated Series, which is kind of sad, because you and I know that I think if there was ever anyone that was actually going to take down Batman, I think someone like Hugo Strange could be the person to do it.
I agree. I really like him.
What about you? Do you have any thoughts, further thoughts about this episode?
You know, I wonder about Hugo's motivation and why it is that he's so interested in, you know, I think I look at it this way. He just happened to come across this information about who Batman is, right? Prior to that, he had been essentially manipulating other people and blackmailing other people. Now there's money behind that he was clearly motivated by the compensation. But I wonder if there were other gains there, that he was interested in, you know, obtaining people's secrets and getting into their brain that way.
Sure.
And that kind of knowledge was powerful to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, I absolutely think, I mean, there was no therapy whatsoever involved in this whole thing. There was no relaxation technique. He was straight up just taking information that he could then turn around and use them. We saw there's a drawer of videotapes. And also, as a matter of behind the scenes trivia, each of those names were artists on the show.
Oh, really?
So you know, they all have secrets that Hugo Strange has. You know, but Batman destroyed the machine. Everything's cool.
Right.
So you know, they don't have to worry. But yeah, no, he was straight up just taking information from people and using it for monetary gain. I think once he realized that he was in over his head, realized what he had on his table, you know, that was it. That this was the one big score. And so I think that now what was masterful, I thought, was once he found out, he was leading Bruce down all the right, you know, paths really to to get this information. You know, he
Right.
started to see the bats. He started to ask him what it is what secret he had. What is this deep, dark thing you're thinking about? And you know, then Bruce just goes, revenge. And, you know, and I thought it was a powerful scene. I liked the way Hugo Strange handled it, and I'd like to see more of him.
Yeah, you have the unique collection of all of these important villains. You know, you have the Joker, the Penguin, Two-Face, Hugo Strange in one I mean, they were all
It's
in
the
that
first
plane.
time.
It was kind of like Con Air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
nice,
right?
Nice little reference.
Not often that we have, you know, so many villains in one episode, not necessarily working together, but interacting and you know.
Well, they did end up working together because actually instead of bidding against one another, it was actually the Joker's recommendation. And that's something maybe we should talk about at some point. It was the Joker's recommendation to pool all the money together, use their resources, and all learn the identity of Batman together.
That's a good point. I'd forgotten that. Initially, they were competitive.
Yeah.
In their bidding.
What I thought was a little uncharacteristic is the fact that the Joker is the one that's suggesting they all get together. You know, they all team up. And Joker has usually sort of been like, you know, one for one. You guys go over there. I'll
Yeah, well,
over here.
And he tends to be unpredictable. You're not quite sure what he will do. But it was interesting that he wanted to not just pool their money together to bid on this tape, but also when they were in the plane, you know, they all decided they wanted to throw Hugo out of the plane. So there was some teamwork there when it came to them.
Yeah, and who knew that the Joker knew how to fly a plane?
He had a pilot's outfit too.
Yeah, he had the whole nine. Well, I guess if you can fly a Christmas tree rocket, then you can probably fly a standard airplane. But
I think it's part of the villain's training. Every villain must have some kind of training in flying planes, in driving limos, in handling blimps. What are the other many ways to get around Gotham? Steamboats?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, he's really any mode of transportation you need. Joker's got it covered.
And people say I'm crazy.
So, what have we got coming up, Drea? We've got panels and stuff coming up. We are going to be at San Diego Comic Fest in a couple weeks, and I think everyone should know about that because, especially if you're a listener of this show and you're going to be at San Diego Comic Fest, you're going to want to come. We're not sure what day it is, but there is a panel you are going to want to see, and it might be called Arkham Sessions. I'm just saying. Are you excited about that?
I am. I'm looking at you with excitement. I'm also looking at you with, are we allowed to say this, eyes?
Yeah. We are.
I guess that's all we should really say.
Yeah, that's about all we can say. But keep tuning in because then we'll be able to say more. But you're going to want to go to San Diego Comic Fest. And in addition to that, we are going to be switching things up with our YouTube a little bit. We are actually going to start going, if you've been listening to the Arkham Sessions on YouTube through Comics Alliance, we are now moving those videos over to our own YouTube channel. So be sure to go over to the Arkham Sessions YouTube channel and we'll be able to, you'll be getting all the new videos from there. And I want to say, starting maybe next week, who knows, starting very soon, those videos are going to be pretty interesting. So, you know, you might want to go over to the Arkham Sessions YouTube channel and subscribe, and you might get a little extra, a little more than you've been getting before.
It's like the VIP.
A little
Arkham
bit.
Sessions VIP.
A little bit. They're all VIPs. All of our listeners are VIPs.
You mentioned Comics Alliance. Every week I'll be doing a psychological review of the show Gotham on Comics Alliance. It goes up probably every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Go check that out.
For as long as you can stand to watch
For
the show.
as long as I can watch Gotham. I'm going to stick through it.
Yeah. That's a lot of dedication there. I'm not sure how much longer I can go, but maybe just so I can say I conquered it with you. You know, I'll be watching it.
Sounds good.
Cool. So, Drea, where can people find you online?
I'm Arkham Asylum Doc on Twitter. My website is underthemaskonline.com.
And I am at bward028 on Twitter. You can also reach both of us. We are at Arkham Sessions on Twitter. And you can always email us, arkhamsessions@gmail.com. We've actually received a lot of emails in the last couple of weeks, and I've been really excited. Drea, you have shown me a number of them. I've been looking at some of them, and we are definitely going to have a show coming up here in the near future where we address a lot of your old a lot of your emails addressing old episodes. So lots of really good ideas, things I never thought of, and I'm very excited about diving into that.
Which reminds me, if you have psychology-related questions about Batman, go ahead and submit them at Arkham Asylum Doc or arkhamsessions@gmail.com.
Very cool. So, Drea, any final words on the strange secret of Bruce Wayne?
I think I need a vacation.
Those are my thoughts. So with that being said, my name is Brian Ward.
I'm Dr. Andrea Letamendi.
And we are
The Arkham Sessions.